Good afternoon, fellas. Thought I'd give you a quick update on how this Bannerlord map's going. Just for those that haven't seen it, it's a new battle map, hopefully to be used in like a BRE event or KOH event, something along those lines. It's based on an Icelandic landscape. Chosen a few reference photos and tried my best to build a Bannerlord map around them using the colour palette and schemes presented. So, thought I'd give you guys a little bit of a demonstration of where I'm at. Maybe a bit of a run through of the terrain and landscape and my thinking for each of the areas. I'd love to get your feedback, see what you guys think, and yeah, if anyone's got some ideas they want to bring to the table, I'm absolutely open ears to hear them. So to kick things off, over in the left hand side here we've got a control point which will be a town. Lots of access, but the main entrance to the town is over here past the small farm on the outskirts. As you move into the town there's a nice town centre with a kind of raised platform. Thinking here is that the control point would be right here next to the tree. Armies would have to effectively hold this area. Lots of flanking options, so although the entry point to the city itself is quite narrow, a force trying to take the control point can go heads on through the main entrance. They can come around here to the side where there's a lot of options to enter here. Going from this side, going around to the right, there's also several more options for attacking, but also defensive options. So while there's an entrance in here, there's also a handy wall for the defenders to try and stop them at all costs. If the attacking force really wants to flank around the edge, they've even got the ability to either come down this staircase, round the beachhead, and flank up this staircase to arrive from the rear, hoping that people less familiar with the map may not necessarily know this is here, giving the more experienced players some surprise options. I guess there's some cover to take if you're getting arrow fire. There's positions up here for archers to look down and fire upon a attacking force. Yeah, so it's coming together. I do feel like the pathways here are a little bit open and not detailed enough. I'm still thinking the best way to make this look a bit less empty, but we'll see how that shapes up. So moving down the road here to the side, this is one of the army spawn points. I took some advice from some of the clan members that spawn points would be good to do as a kind of encampment. So you're kind of, I don't know, telling a story that an army's just arrived, this is their camp on the battlefield, and this is where they start. There's another one on the other side of the map which I'll show you guys later. So moving down the open plains, I've tried to create quite an elevated map. So right at the top here there's a kind of ruined fortress, way down here to the coastline. Here we've got a small kind of Stonehenge type thing. This area was a big open field, and to be fair it still is quite a big open field, plenty of field fights, cavalry flanking, but I wanted to add something to kind of break it up. So if there is fighting happening around here, you know, armies always have an opportunity to take refuge in this circle of stones. This probably will be a control point, still TBC, but the idea being that cavalry typically have some pretty good options in this area, but then the defensive infantry also have the ability to maybe take cover behind some stones as cavalry are coming in, but it's not too covered, you know, so really you'd only be able to take advantage of these if your reaction time was really quick. Moving further down the coast, you can see here the plains are quite, there's lots of elevations and small dips in the plains. So this here used to provide views way into the distance. I've tried to create a few elevated points just so that in the plains you can't necessarily see the army from afar. You know, you'd have to send some scouts up the hill maybe to try and find out where they are, and as you go through them you've got limited visibility moving forwards. I guess some from here you can see quite far into the distance, but you know, if the enemy was sneaking around maybe down the coast, I wanted to make sure that there are at least some options to hide your forces and surprise the enemy. So thinking that a force might be coming down this road, maybe in marching column formation, they think the enemy's maybe over here or up here, and marching accordingly, and all of a sudden you can almost imagine an ambush coming over the hills straight into the side of the enemy flank. Yeah, it could lead to some pretty cool situations. Moving further down, we've also got this small, I almost want to say church. I guess Vikings typically don't have churches, but it's that sort of building. Again, got the rune stones going around it. I've based this again on some reference material that I found on Google, but this will almost certainly be a control point. It needs to be fleshed out with a bit more detail. It's a bit flat and boring at the moment, but well, we'll think of something. Control point will probably be here in the centre, and obviously lots of attack options from the attackers trying to reclaim it all the way around. Way over here, we've also got the second army spawn point. So if I was to zoom out, you can see that the first army spawns over here, the second army spawns over here. I've taken a bit of inspiration from the BRE maps that we've played, where some of the control points obviously will be closer to certain spawns, and I guess depending on which one's being played, you might find a team playing offensive or defensive. So around here, obviously I'm not expecting that the boundary for the map is around here, so units shouldn't really be able to poke around the corner here. So I've tried to keep this empty really, just to make sure that we're not rendering more than we need to. So from the second army encampment, where they will spawn, let's take a look at the more elevated part of the battlefield. So moving around the corner, I've tried my best to incorporate a small cave system. I didn't want to go overboard with this really, but this used to be just a kind of open walkway, and it felt a bit samey. So you'll find throughout this kind of mountain pathways, I've tried to create points of interest. Doesn't really change the gameplay that much, but it just makes it a bit more exciting to traverse, things to see. So moving up the mountain, there's an area over here which I still need to do something with. Effectively, if an army was up on the hill here, I'm thinking you've got two ways of getting around there, so that we're not necessarily forcing people to hold this small choke point. So you've got the ability to charge up around here, or charge down here into the enemy. A fairly open area on the mountain pathway. I've tried to break it up with a bit of water again. This doesn't really do anything functionally. I believe it should be walkable, and that units can fight in here or knock each other into the water below, continue the fighting. Yeah, moving down the pathway, we've got a small, almost like a altar-y type thing. I wasn't really sure what was happening here. Again, probably needs a bit more detail around here, some more rocks, some more variation. But again, yeah, this is just an attempt to change what would otherwise be a plain empty walkway into something that has a bit more interest. I guess for those recording videos, it just makes it look a bit more pretty, a bit more scenic. Moving up this walkway, we've got a small mountainous ruins area, so you probably wouldn't be able to hide an army in here, but I can imagine that if you were defending the fort at the top here, you might choose to come down here if you saw the enemy army coming up this way. Hide some soldiers in the ruins for protection, position some archers up here on the hill to fire down. Yeah, you can sort of begin to see how this might shape up. I think my only thing that I don't like about this area at the moment is that it feels a bit choke pointy, in that if you were attacking up here, if it wasn't going well here, and it was quite narrow, archers were firing down, there isn't really a way to flank, because by the time your army's got all the way around here and back in from the other side, well, the 50% of your army that's over here is attacking is going to be wiped out by the time your units get all the way around this side. So we'll see about that. I'm still having a thought. I think someone suggested putting a ladder in up here. Yeah, something like that. I'm not 100% sure, but that'll be something to tackle at a later date. So assuming that the army is holding the third control point up here, an attacker might come around here, up the hill, and into this archway. So there's two main entry points through here, which are quite narrow. Defenders could always have some archers positioned up here. I didn't want to make it too castle-y, so I did think about having obviously the wall coming a bit further around to provide more access. But I didn't want to create too much of an advantage for the defenders. Probably if you were defending this, you'd almost be better off having an army stationed here, letting few units trickle through, and have archers up here flanking down on them. Another little surprise ambush to the less experienced players, you might just rush through these doors. Off to the left here, there's also a small thing which I'm hoping to make a height that you could jump through it, and likewise from the other way, just to create slightly more attacking options. In here, again, following the kind of circular staircase, bit tricky getting the traversal on this right, because obviously ground that's too steep will stop the units from going up, but the stairs obviously need to look embedded into the landscape enough to make it seem ruinous. Yeah, so we'll probably do a bit of testing on this and make sure those stairs are operational. While this kind of looks cool, you get huge vistas out onto the landscape. I guess you could station archers here and fire down. The distance is quite far, so while you probably could get the odd shot going down there if an enemy force was coming around, you know, you're unlikely to deal any major damage, I guess, with archers stationed here. Again, on the other side of the ruins, there's a similar thing where going up you've got the two main entranceways and then the slightly more sneaky path on the right. And then there's the kind of the main feature of the castle fort, where we've got the ruined tower, where I believe units can travel up here to the top. So if you were under attack, you could have archers stationed up here firing down into the enemy. I think there's also a few windows that face out certain directions. Yeah, maybe the distance of that's too high, but this one here certainly you can fire out of, and I think actually because of the elevation, maybe I should add some stairs here to actually allow users to get in, so that there isn't just like a single choke point here. Yeah, maybe. We'll see. We'll see. Have I missed anything? No, I think, fellas, that's it so far. So I'd love to hear what you guys think, and really, if you've got any pointers in terms of adding more detail, adding more points of interest, maybe assisting with some of those kind of choke point flanking issues which I mentioned earlier. Yeah, you know, I'd love to hear it. I want this map to be for the KOH, maybe something that we can use for events. And because of that, yeah, it'd be great to have your input, I guess, and for everyone to kind of help shape it. Cheers, guys.